Hi, it's Joe Mark Witt for Personality Hacker. I want to roll into a clip right now from our most recent deep dive in our Personality Hacker Plus membership program. So if you've been following along Personality Hacker, you know that every single week on Sundays, currently at the time of this recording, we're meeting live. We're doing a live stream. We're bringing a whole group of people together, our members together, to watch a short clip from the Personality Hacker podcast and then unpack the learning from that clip, tuning into personality types and personal growth of how we can apply it to our own lives. We've got discussion groups, we've got journal prompts, we've got quests and challenges we give our members every single week. And then once a month, we do something called our deep dive. We just got done with one this past month, in the month of March, and I'd love for you to check it out. We talk about creative complexes, the unconscious creativity that comes from us, or unlocking creativity using our complexes. I thought it was always Freud that talked about complexes. It was actually Carl Jung, and in this clip, we'll go a little deeper into it. I'm just going to show you a few minutes of it. Can't show the whole thing, obviously, because it's part of our membership group. But you can join the membership right now, personhacker.com/membership, and you can watch the entire deep dive from this most recent session. It's a growing library in the Academy here, part of the Personality Hacker Plus membership. So let's go to that right now as we talk about unlocking the creative process through our internal complexes.
What did Carl Jung have to say about unlocking creativity through our unconscious mind? Well, there's two different layers to the unconscious mind. One is personal and one is collective. We're not going to dive into the collective unconscious in this particular session. There's a lot that's actually been talked about the collective unconscious. We want to dive into our personal unconscious right now. And a big piece of our personal unconscious is what Carl Jung called our complexes. So we'll define that. We'll define how diving into our personal unconscious gives us an avenue to unlocking our own personal creativity. But first, let's talk about, what do we mean by creativity? Are we just talking about art, or what's going on here? Well, in this particular session, creativity is going to be defined broadly. It's going to encompass more than just the traditional arts. It's going to refer to the innate human capacity to generate new ideas, solutions, or forms of expression that are both novel and valuable. So it acknowledges that creativity can manifest across a wide spectrum of human activity, and it includes, but is not limited to, the visual and performing arts, but also writing, the sciences, engineering, business, and everyday problem solving. So we're not just talking about art, we're talking about all creativity, because creativity in its etymological form just means to bring into being. That's what creativity is. It's to take something from nothing, right? Or seemingly nothing. So it's important to, as each of us has a different personality type and we have a different relationship to creativity, to understand that it is encompassing your brand of creativity too. All right, whatever that is for you, whether it's something that is deeply artistic all the way over to just general problem solving. We have to pull up things that didn't exist before in order to get creative. And so that's what we mean by creativity. So when we're unlocking creativity, we're unlocking the ability to bring into being. That's what we're talking about. All right, so if we're going to talk about creativity in such a way, what did Jung have to say about creativity and our unconscious? Well, from Jung's perspective, creativity is deeply intertwined with the unconscious mind. It draws upon the rich and often unexplored territories of the personal and collective unconscious. It's seen as both an expression of individual insight as well as a process that connects individuals to universal themes, symbols, and archetypes. And creativity involves the integration of unconscious content with conscious awareness. All right, so it's a bridge. Creativity is a bridge between the things that we are unaware of and is unseen, is unconscious for us. One could also call it shadow content, right? Anything that lives in our personal shadow, with the conscious mind, the things that we do have a relationship with more directly. So if creativity creates a bridge, then not only does the unconscious mind unlock creativity, but creativity unlocks the unconscious mind, right? It creates almost like a two-way relationship. So creativity is incredibly important. If you don't define yourself as a creative person, then as a person who is interested in self-development or personal growth or personal development or even self-discovery, creativity should be one of your go-to tools in your toolbox of introspection. Creativity must be a part of how you understand yourself, because it is bridging your conscious mind into the unconscious. It unearths more material for you to work with and understand yourself. So as a dynamic interplay between the known and the unknown, the seen and the unseen, this bridge is a bridge between the inner world of you, the individual, and the outer world of collective human culture and knowledge. So we watch ourselves bring the things that we are unaware of yet at this time. We see it be brought into the world so that we can engage with it and interact with it. And we can do so in a way that's valuable. So creativity isn't just something that's new and novel. It's something that's also valuable. It means that it has purpose, it has utility. And even if that's just beauty, not just beauty, but even if that is beauty, right? Or perhaps an ingenious way to go about a mundane problem. It is something that that allows us to see our unconscious mind being made manifest in things that then have value to the outside world. All right, so that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about that bridge between those two places. And we're going to do that by talking about complexes. All right, so what is a complex? Well, complex is a term that Carl Jung invented when he was still in a pretty strong mentor-mentee relationship with Sigmund Freud. So Freud was one of Jung's mentors, early mentors. And they had a falling out and things didn't turn out as well because Jung ended up parting ways from Freud in quite a few aspects. And Freud didn't like that very much. He liked his acolytes to be very loyal to his concepts and ideas. But when Jung was working still very closely with Freud and really trying to understand this idea of the unconscious, all of these things that are basically influencing our behavior from the shadow, he came up with this idea of complexes. So what is a complex? Well, or what is the personal unconscious first? Well, the personal unconscious contains memories and experiences that are not presently in conscious awareness. That makes sense, right? It's underneath what is known. They include forgotten experiences, repressed memories, and unnoticed perceptions. Though these elements are personal and unique to the individual, they have a significant influence on behaviors and attitudes, particularly through complexes. So the unconscious is what houses our complexes. And what is a complex? It's a cluster of emotionally charged thoughts and memories. And this is important to understand because we don't always have access to all of these things. We don't always have access to what these components are. So according to Jung, the personal unconscious is unique to each individual, but it's a repository of both recent experiences that are too weak to make a conscious impact. So stuff that we have been experiencing, but didn't really hit the radar. So we didn't fully process them. They just kind of live there. They're unprocessed recent experiences, or they could be traumatic events from our past that have been intentionally suppressed due to their painful nature. So they could be things that were significant when we were young, but didn't have the sophistication to be able to process, or they're things that are more recent that we don't know we need to process, just material that lives inside of ourselves. And that's what usually populates the unconscious. And those things oftentimes are things that end up fueling this concept called complexes. So what is a complex? It's a core pattern of emotions, memories, perceptions, and wishes organized around a common theme, things like power or status. Right? They're formed through our experiences, especially those with strong emotional impact, and influence our behaviors and reactions in ways which we're not consciously aware. So that's why it's a complex, because it is complex. All right. It's a clustering of a bunch of different thoughts and emotions, triggered experiences around a common theme. And they oftentimes become unmanageably complex, right? That's why they're complexes. It's super hard to fully process these things because there's so much material in them. And they form these deeply complicated relationships with overarching themes that ends up turning into behaviors. They end up turning into almost like knee-jerk responses and behaviors to things. And especially if these things are related to really powerful themes in our lives. Now, this is where concepts like archetypes come in, because we all have relationships to certain archetypes or primordial images that come up that don't always have language to them. In fact, one of the reasons why these complexes can be so difficult to unearth and why they live in our unconscious is because they're not always articulated. In fact, a lot of it can't be articulated. A lot of it has to be processed in an emotional realm or an imaginatory or imagination. It can't really be directly broken down, and much work has been put into articulating complexes. There are some complexes that are named. There are some complexes that are seen over and over again. The challenge is, though, even if we put names to these things and define them, let's see, there are some names like the Adonis complex. Well, what's an Adonis complex? An Adonis complex is particularly a man's relationship to their own body, right? Whether they're good looking enough, whether or not they're strong enough. And it creates all of this reaction and response. You might see somebody with an Adonis complex that now hits the gym for 2 hours a day. Maybe they're taking dangerous injectables because they're trying to focus so much on how they look and showing up as this beautiful structure of a man. This would be a complicated relationship that one has with their body, particularly a masculine relationship to their body. So it would be considered a complex. And while we see these complexes show up, like the Adonis complex that will show up from time to time, the truth is that the person experiencing it is still deeply personal to them. It's built up of their own experiences, their own reactions to how the world has communicated these ideas to them. So even if a complex is something that we can put a name to and we can articulate it and we can kind of all understand it in an archetypal way, for the individual that is experiencing it, it is still a bunch of their own experiences in their unconscious mind, right? It's still their own unprocessed emotions around them. It is deeply personal, even if we see these things taking on almost a universal quality as well. And so a complex requires not just a theoretical or an abstract or an articulated understanding, but it requires a personal understanding. It requires an understanding that one self has with one's complicated inner space. And so that's one of the reasons why these things are so difficult, is that even if we put language to them, we still haven't put language to them. Even if we can identify them, we still haven't identified them within the self. And so one of the best ways to do a little bit of digging, turning the earth over, being able to see our own personal relationship to these things, is by bridging that unconscious with the unconscious, with the conscious, bridging our own deeply sublimated relationship to things, to these themes, with our conscious awareness. All right. Okay, so how does one go about doing that, right? How does one understand this core pattern of emotions, memories, perceptions, and wishes, right, according to these themes? Well, we do that through multiple different venues. Sometimes we do that in
Okay, so that was just a short clip from our deep dive session here at the Personality Hacker Plus membership. If you'd like to be part of this membership, again, join us, personalityhacker.com/membership. We'd love to have you be part of this. We can do these deep dives once a month. We also have a book club that Antonia does a premium podcast around, and we meet once a week on Sundays. We record everything, by the way, so you can review it in the members area. But we meet live Sundays where you can come together and meet other people that are into personality type, into personal growth, understanding all of this and applying it to our real lives. So we'd love to have you part of this Personality Hacker Plus membership. Love for you to join. Again, you can do that over at personalityhacker.com/membership. You should be part of this. It's a growing membership of like minds that we would love for you to also be tuned into. Okay, Joel Mark Witt, I'll talk to you soon. Peace.